Hi, I'm Terry O'Reilly, founder of OBP Australia, a service for overseas-born professionals looking to either get their first job in Australia or advance their career once they're established in their profession. Welcome to the podcast. Each episode, I'll be talking to an ex-OBP Australia client who's been successful in finding employment in Australia. We'll get to hear about their journey and what advice they have for job seekers. Sajid is a program leader with 15 years plus experience in delivering large-scale digital transformation programs. By applying strategic thinking, understanding business and technical requirements to galvanise teams around a common vision, to execute, manage and achieve customer business outcomes. I first met Sajid in 2014 and was incredibly impressed by his eagerness and positive outlook. It was clear at the outset that he was going to find work easily, and it wouldn't be long before he had a range of vocational options. He's the current president of the PMI Melbourne chapter and is with me today to talk about PMI and his journey. Sajid, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Terry.
Now, I first met you, I think, 2014, is that right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's been a while.
It has, that's 8 years. Time really flies. So just start off by telling me a little bit about your journey since you arrived in 2014.
Yeah, I moved from Pakistan and I've been working in the IT and telecom industry. And what fascinated me was the Melbourne being the best living place at that time, and hopefully we'll get the title back soon. And I have a young family, so we decided that it's a good time to settle in and enjoy the life offered by Melbourne. And that was the trigger point to move from Pakistan to Melbourne.
Right, and you've stayed in Melbourne?
Yes, throughout. Yeah, so I arrived in Craigieburn, and we loved the place so much that it's been 8 years now. It's still here.
Right, and what about getting that first job? Was it tough?
Yes, I think to be very frank, when I landed, I didn't had much planned. I thought that with the background and the experience I have, it should be easier. But one thing which I miscalculated was to understand the local culture, the local norms, and what are the do's and don'ts that we need to follow. I didn't change my resume. I didn't knew I have to do a cover letter, and I started applying. And pretty soon, I got disappointed and frustrated that why I'm not getting calls from the recruiter, or where I am getting wrong. So I needed help, and without that help, I couldn't get the job.
Right, and so you're reflecting there the whole time, you're not having success with an application. How long did it take before you said, okay, I need a little bit of advice and guidance here?
Yeah, I spent 2.5 months. First month, I settled family, rented a house, and then seriously started to apply. And overall, after 2.5 months, when I started getting the help, and I understood the ways of the working, the culture, how to approach a job, how to call a recruiter and introduce your own profile. And once I started doing it, I was about 4 weeks into that process. I started getting calls, and then I started to get shortlisted for the interviews, and then I landed on my job after about 3 months time frame.
That's pretty good. And do you remember your first interview? How was that?
Yeah, so pretty excited. I got 2 interviews on the same day. One was in the morning and one was in the afternoon. My first interview, I was pretty nervous, but my line manager at that time. He was very cool, calm, and casual. I was wearing a three-piece suit, but he was casual, and he said, "Look, we work in the IT department. We are very casual." And then I also removed my tie and coat and started the discussion. When I think back, it was really exciting to sit in front of a manager and share your experience and uh, try to showcase your skills and the values you can bring for the organization.
That's interesting. The dress expectations are often something I discuss with my clients. How would you describe, one, expectations at interview in your industry, and two, what do people wear at your work?
Uh, no, for mostly, if there is no customer facing meeting, or if I'm not visiting a customer site, we'll be using business casual or casual dress. Our organization, they give us a lot of t-shirts, so we proudly wear those t-shirts in our normal days. But if you are going and visiting a customer, definitely a business casual. And for any interviews, I always think that you go uh, business casual. A bit overdressed is fine instead of getting underdressed. And my last interview with my current organization was a video interview. So I was thinking what to do, and then I thought I should wear a business casual, being it's an interview, even if it is face to face or via a virtual channel. I should display and follow the norms that you get a bit dressed for your interview.
Sure. And what about a tie? I'm rarely seeing a tie these days. They're becoming really rare.
Correct. I also don't see much of a tie, and I feel it is now being redundant, and people just wear business casual, a suit, and a nice dress shirt.
Sure. Okay, so you got an interview fairly quickly, which is great after you changed your approach. One thing I remember about you when I first met you was that you were very thorough and methodical. You took things in and you made changes where you needed to. Can you think you've already talked about changing your resume, making sure that your cover letter addressed a specific job? Is there anything else that you would suggest was really critical in those stages of landing a first interview?
Uh, I I I think, Terry, the key is that you need to have a coach, a mentor, or a guide who can help you understand that what are the right steps to follow. I was struggling. I was trying to do things with my own learning by discussing it around my group of friends, and everybody has a very different experience, and I couldn't see that if I follow a particular path I'll be able to get the job. So when I had discussions with you in terms of my career plan and applying for jobs, one thing was pretty clear, that this whole process from applying for the job till interview, shortlisting, and everything. For each step, I have to improve and then take one step at a time. For example, work on the cover letter and resume, try to understand what is the real job description in the job ad and how you resonate, and explain or via your cover letter, tell the hiring manager how you fit for the role and why they should hire you. So I think that was the first step which I started doing, and it landed me interviews. And during those interviews, then I needed to understand how to reply to the interview questions, what they are really asking, and how I can use various techniques for replying to those questions that make sense not only to the hiring manager, but they can see what value I'll be bringing across.
Right. That's really good advice. So we're here to talk today about your involvement with the Project Management Institute, the Melbourne chapter, PMI. So tell us about how you became involved with PMI.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, Terry. Back in 2012, my boss, I was heading an enterprise PMO for telecom, and my boss said that, look, you're running programs. Why don't you go for the program management certification, which is offered by PMI? And at that time, it was a pretty expensive certification, 1,500 USD, and it used to take a lot of preparation to sit for this certification. And I thought, okay, if I have to do it sitting in Pakistan, how can I get some help? At that time, there was only one person who had that certification. So Pakistan has got 220 million population. So I thought I'll start my preparation, and I reached out to PMI networking groups, and I found a late Dr. Ginger. She was instrumental in guiding and mentoring me, and she said, Sajid, have confidence, start your preparations, sit in the exam, and you will definitely pass this. And I had never worked with her. I'd have never met her, but I just sent an email. And because of the volunteering work which she was doing, I got a lot of support, and I got a lot of confidence. And once I passed my exam, I thought, and now it's time that I should do the same. And I started volunteering with PMI Melbourne chapter based out of Islamabad. And since then, I've not looked back. And it's been now more than 10 years I've been working and as a volunteer for PMI.
Right. So that brings me to the next point. And one thing I realized when I went to the PMI events is that not everybody's a project manager there, correct?
Correct. So I've seen people, a lot of consultants coming in, a lot of business analysts coming in, a lot of project schedulers and coordinators coming. So people from various backgrounds, people from various different industries, we all welcome them, and they join and enjoy being part of PMI Melbourne chapter.
Okay. And what's the value in being a PMI member, do you think?
Yes, it is multifold. Few things. We've got around Terry, globally 600,000 PMI members. Globally, there are 300 plus local chapters, so almost in every part of the world. And the interesting fact is PMI has got 1.6 million certified credential holders. So it's a very vastly read, practiced profession following the PMI standards. And once you become a PMI member, you get access to a lot of free research and standards, which you can use in your organization. Then PMI offers a lot of research journals which you can read. Being a PMI member, and especially being a member of the local chapter, you get a chance to do some networking, right? You broaden your reach by talking and by meeting various professionals or practitioners who are part of the member as well. This help you build your relationships and understand how and where to get support when you need one. And lastly, PMI, being a PMI Melbourne chapter or PMI member, you get to earn free PDUs, which are professional development units. When you become a PMI, when you do a PMI certification, there is a renewal cycle for 3 years, and then you need to earn PDUs to maintain your credential. So being part of the PMI Melbourne chapter or PMI member, you get to engage in various events and activities which give you or which help you earn the PDUs, which are used for renewal of these certifications.
Right. Having attended several of the PMI events myself, I mean, apart from the fact that you have very interesting topics and presenters at each of the events, I thought the networking was excellent. It's probably the best job that any professional organisation does. I think it's really a nice, friendly but professional way for people to meet people from other industries, which is what you've just alluded to there. With the PMI and the PMP certification, what's the relationship there? Is somebody expected to be on the PMP pathway to be a member, or is it not necessary?
It's a very interesting question, Terry. Generally, when people are trying to prepare for their certification, that is the time when they get an introduction of PMI. And I've seen it's not mandatory or it's not required to be a PMP to become a PMI member. Anyone can become a PMI member. If you are a PMI member and you want to prepare or sit for a PMP certification, you get a discount. Hence, a lot of people, they become PMI member and then they avail the PMP certification exam discount. So we can see a lot of people start their journey by studying for PMP and then become the PMI member.
Right. Okay. Now, the events that I attended were face-to-face. They were pre-COVID. We've had COVID with us for 2.5 years now. How has that affected the event schedule?
Yeah, the COVID was a bit of a surprise for everyone, and especially in Melbourne, we had the world's longest lockdown, and from the PMI Melbourne chapter perspective, every month, the last Tuesday of every month, we run our event, which is free for all PMI Melbourne chapter members. And if I recall, or if I think back, in the last 10 years, we have never missed a single event. So every month, last Tuesday, we run an event. And when we have to pivot and shift, the board had a quick discussion and we thought how we can continue these events. And we started using Zoom. And we had no experience how we need to run these sessions. So we got some training, we got some help from PMI organized a session where they trained us that, how you need to run these sessions where they are interactive. You can do some networking and the members are engaged and you pass on the value. So we straight away shifted, and what we used to do was a lot of preparation, a lot of dry runs before we do the actual session, and it helps us a lot. And we continued delivering the networking and the monthly events for the members.
Right. I suppose people are becoming more familiar with Zoom and communication online now. So it's really changed our world, I guess, and looking at work from home as well. How's that affected project managers and projects in general? I mean, I suppose are you working a hybrid situation at the moment, or are you full-time at work? How's that working?
So it is hybrid. and looks like hybrid is the way forward. My office, majority of my customers and clients, they all are now used to having these hybrid tools. I think the key message or the uh, uh, guidance is that we go couple of days to office, and uh, whatever the tool you use online, you cannot beat that face-to-face interaction, which is very important. And you try to build a repo. You try to understand uh, people more, and face-to-face will remain there, but it is limited in terms of how it affects the projects. Initially, when it all shifted, everybody was online. So we need to have better communication channels, that how we continue with the teams, how when we are doing a digital transformation, how we pass on the message of change management virtually. And the challenge which I feel is through the virtual medium, you don't try to see or try to understand what's the real emotional things happening with your team member, because of this medium. It although it looks like informal, but it feels formal. That water cooler conversation, or a lunch table conversation, or a coffee run, or a coffee catch up, that is very important. And wherever currently there's a chance, we try to enforce and do that. But we'll see how this all hybrid approach evolves, and what new tools comes in, and we try to close that gap.
That's interesting. One of the other challenges I've been hearing people talk about with hybrid is that you find that some people are at the office and some are at home, which means that you may end up spending the whole time on Zoom at the office anyway. And some people feel like, what's the point? Is there some coordination that's going on that you're aware of, either in your workplace or elsewhere, to ensure that you have a large number of people in the office at the same time, or is it not coordinated as well as it could be?
What we try to do is we ask everyone if they can join on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that helps us from moving away from that Zoom or the hybrid, and then we can have some quality time, quality discussions, and that office culture, or the buzz, right? You work in a team environment. But I think because of COVID, a lot has changed, and that's my personal opinion, that we may not go back 100% to office. So it will evolve in a hybrid situation. What it might be, but I think time will tell us.
Yes, we probably have to wait a few years to see what happens in the long run. So that I've also noticed that some of your LinkedIn posts, I've seen you're traveling around the world. PMI is taking you places. What's happening there?
Yes. So as COVID is now finished, PMI has started their regional and then international meetings. The international sessions are known as LIMS, Leadership Institute Meeting, where the various chapter leaders from around the globe gather in a location, and then we share our success stories, learn from others, and there are very nice keynote speakers, and those meetings are considered as a mentoring and leadership exercise for us, that the PMI empowers us, that when we are working in our boards, how better we can serve our members. And if there is a success story, a program that has helped the other members around somewhere in the globe, we get to learn from it and try to come and implement it in our hometown as well.
Right. And just on the horizon, the upcoming PMI events, are they still online?
For the Melbourne chapter, what we did was we did a trial where we started off with a hybrid approach. So in one event, we had the speaker on site. In the next event, we had the speaker virtually talking to the members. And with the virtual option, Terry, it opened our horizon. And now we can have speakers from around the globe. So the speaker was sharing his thought leadership from USA.
That's
So
great.
yeah, so suddenly we got a lot more number of people that can come and talk to our members. So after a couple of months, we have decided that we will continue to offer a hybrid model where we will have a on-site session where people can do networking, enjoy, come, have some drinks, and anyone who wants to join from virtual tools like Zoom, they are more than welcome to do that. And then we are trying to mix the networking that before the event we have some virtual breakout rooms where anybody who's has joined virtually can have some networking, and then on-site people can have their face-to-face networking. So going forward, we will be running hybrid events for our members.
That's fantastic. And just to finish up, how does someone go about joining PMI?
Yes, if somebody is thinking to join PMI, they just need to go to the pmi.org website. There are a couple of membership options. You find the ones which suits you. Like if you're a student, you get a discounted membership. Make sure when you're choosing a membership, it fits your profile, and you try to get or more value from the membership. Once you sign up for the global membership, you can, and I strongly encourage that you sign up for your local chapter. We have got chapters throughout Australia in all states, and recently there is work happening to start up a Tasmanian chapter. So pretty soon we'll have a
Great.
chapter in Tasmania as well. So if you join the local chapter, you get the chance to network and volunteer for the chapter where the key value is.
So Tasmania is getting a PMI chapter as well as an AFL football team, it seems. Have you been following
Yes.
that?
Yes, yeah. That's an interesting thing. I think both are competing. Let's see who gets it first.
Excellent. So you've had a very interesting journey. Thanks for joining us, Sajid. What I'd normally do at the end here is for some parting words. What do you think is really important for an overseas-born professional, perhaps about to come to Australia or recently arrived? What is the most important piece of advice that you can give them?
Thanks, Terry. I think what I believe is if you are a new immigrant and if you've landed, it's a first thing you need to admit. It's a new culture. It's a brand new country. You need to spend some time, come prepared. Try early. If I think back, I should have started preparing myself for understanding when I land here, what needs to be done. So you plan your journey as soon as you decide that you're moving. I'll say try to shortlist, get some help, get some advice as early as possible. If you delay getting help, you spend 6 months trying, it will frustrate you. You will not have the energy. You will be demotivated. So before you get into that cycle, get help as soon as possible. Follow a structured approach. and try to understand how the job application process works, how the recruitment works, and what's the culture around applying for jobs, sitting in interviews, and being successful.
Great. Excellent advice. And I think the getting help is really important because everybody's in a different situation. No
Correct.
two people are the same, and you're facing different barriers depending on who you are. So thanks for joining us today, Sajid. I think that's been really useful, and hopefully the listeners will be able to take something from that. So thanks again, and take care.
Thank you very much, Terry, for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. Thanks again.
Thank you. OBP Australia provides guidance and support with job applications and approaching employers, industry awareness, interview coaching, and language and communication. You'll also be introduced to your professional peers already working in Australia, so you can get the lowdown on what's happening in your industry or profession. If you're looking for guidance and support to find your next job, email me at terry@obpaustralia.com.au. Let's talk.